Hey, I'm Stephen Glosser.
And I'm Megan Pikert.
Welcome to the Going Somewhere podcast.
A podcast for anyone who finds themselves in the ambiguous adventure of young adulthood.
A season that's marked by uncertainty, change, love, heartbreak, and a whole lot of big decisions.
Join us for some real conversations as we dig into what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus in this beautiful yet complicated season of life.
We're so glad you're here, and we'd love to have you join our little Going Somewhere podcast community. Follow us on Instagram at goingsomewhere.podcast and join the conversation.
We're all going somewhere. We might as well go there together.
Thanks for listening. Let's jump into today's episode. Today, I'm joined by Megan. What's up, Megan?
Hey, how's it going?
Just hey. Just hey. And also, we have a special friend here today. Our friend Dan Schuster is here. What's up, Dan?
Hey, it's going good. How are you?
Hey, so good.
Good.
So good to have you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
I was going to call it a studio, but it's obviously not. And you're sitting on a floral couch.
It's close enough.
It's close
enough. In this day and age, I love music, and I do a lot of music recording too. I was like, anything can be a studio. I have a small bedroom. That is a studio. That's what that actually is now. So.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited to have you. Do you mind just kind of giving us a little bit of who is Dan? I know that's a pretty loaded question, but just tell us a little bit about your favorite people, favorite things, and what you do for work.
Totally. Okay. Yeah. Favorite people, my mom and dad. Love my mom and dad.
Yeah.
My wife, Fate. So I'm married to my wife, Fate. We have a 1.5-year-old girl, Josie. So we've been married for, I shouldn't get this wrong, we've been married for 6 years, going on 7. 2019. I think I'm right there. I think I'm right. So
I just remember doing it.
Yeah, that's right. And Stephen officiated. So yeah, fun fact there.
I remember being there, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, it was 2019. We got the wedding in before COVID. That was nice.
Yes.
We were like 6 months ahead of schedule on that one. So, but anyways, and then for work professionally here, I work at a company called Fjell Capital. I'm one of the partners there. I'm the director of wealth management. So basically what we do is we are a wealth management company. We offer portfolio management services and financial planning. And we do that for individuals. So that's how I spend, 40 to 50 hours a week. And it's a blast. I love it.
Amazing. And you're somebody that has been very helpful to me in this area. We've had just little side conversations or on the back deck or different times. And also, if you're wondering what are we going to talk about, we're going to talk about money today. We're going to talk about some finances. And if you're wondering, should I listen to this guy? Just know that he's wearing like a jacket right now, like a suit jacket. So yes.
And a pink shirt.
Yeah. So,
pink on too, yeah.
So of course you should listen to him. He's clearly a finance guy.
That's right.
But yeah, you've been at Fjell now for how long have you been there? And just like that whole journey, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. So we actually started I guess this whole thing goes back to like 2017 is when I got into the industry. So I graduated from NDSU with a finance degree. I remember walking, literally one day, I just walked around downtown passing out resumes. So I just had a stack of like 20 resumes, and I walked into 10 to 15 different offices and was like, well, we're just going to see if we can get FaceTime with some of these people and pass a resume out and tell them I'm a recent finance grad and looking for work and what do you have? So I walked around, did that. I stopped at the UBS office. UBS is just another wealth management firm in town. They've got a branch downtown.
Not to be confused with UPS.
Yes, we don't deliver packages. Yeah, we deliver financial plans.
And that's how I became a mailman.
Yeah, that's right. So, but I stopped in that office, and there's a guy there that I knew, which is part of why I stopped in, this guy by the name of Tom Statham. And so I came in the office. I asked the lady at the front desk if Tom was in. She said, yeah, I'll go grab him. Grabs him, comes up. I sit down in the conference room with him. He's like, oh, yeah, I got a few minutes. Come on back here. So to keep a long story short, basically during that conversation, which probably lasted like 10 minutes, he's like, it's really funny, actually, that you came in. I was thinking about how I need to hire somebody, and I'd really like to, I'm looking to kind of expand what I'm doing here. And at that time, his dad was retiring, so he's looking to sort of bring someone in to help. So he just said, it's funny that you came by today. And then what transpired from that was another, 4 weeks or so of conversations back and forth, and ultimately getting an offer from him to come and join him. So I started there in 2017. I did that for 3 years. COVID happened. All of us got sent home, and in late 2020, we decided to launch our own firm. So that's where Fjell Capital started. So Fjell Capital started in August of 2020, and it's been an amazing run. So we're 5 years into this thing, and it still kind of feels like it's infancy, but that's also just kind of business. These things, like good things, take a long time to build, and we're proud of where we're at, and also still trying to just see where we could take this, how many people we can serve.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. The thought of you like passing out your resumes, it's just like rejection therapy, you know? It's just like, how many people are going to accept it, you know?
And I think
we can just camp on that for a whole podcast episode.
That's right. I literally think nobody replied. Like no one got back to me. It was just, it's just Tom. He happened to get some FaceTime with me, and there you go. Like that was it. So,
Nice.
But anyways, that's where it came from.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, today we're talking about things you should do in your 20s when it comes to money, comes to your finances. And a lot of that, I was talking to some friends this morning, telling them we were recording this podcast. And it was just funny to talk to other like 20-something age people, because we just don't know what we're doing in this in this area of our life. Like there's so much that you could do. There's so much that someone's telling you to do. You don't want to make mistakes. We got debt, all the things. And so, the conversation was endless, basically, of how do we do this? And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is just what can we start in our 20s to help us build some key rhythms, some foundations for our finances later on. But we thought we'd maybe start with, what are some common mistakes people make? Because I think we can all relate to maybe making the wrong decision, making the wrong choice, or prioritizing the wrong thing. So what are some mistakes either you've made personally or you've seen people make when they're first starting out?
Yeah, totally. I think this could kind of go a few different directions, and I'll probably take it more so down one path. Like, I think some of the obvious stuff that a lot of people have heard is like, well, you should have a budget, and you should have a budget. You should understand like what you spend on a regular month. You should save. You absolutely should. You should totally save money every month. You should have, maybe it's 10%. Like it's just, you got to start somewhere, right? So it's like, you should save something every month. If you have debt, you should have a plan to pay it off, and ideally you have a plan to pay it off, not on minimum payments. You have a plan to pay it off much faster than that. So I think that might be the common direction to take this conversation, of like going down that route of like, give us the really practical stuff. Give us the like, well, just tell me what I should save. Tell me what I should pay off. And I think actually we might have to have future conversations where we can really dig into that and kind of talk more like numbers based. But I think a couple common mistakes, the 2 cents I will give on that is like, a couple common mistakes people do make is just not knowing where their money's going. It's just not paying attention to it. So, you think about, I think about this for myself. You graduate college, I get my first job, I start 2 weeks later, and 2 weeks after that, I get my first paycheck. And it's like 5 times larger than any paycheck I've seen in my life. It's like all of a sudden you're just like, I am rolling in the dough, making $32,000 a year, or what,
oh, for
right,
sure. Yeah.
Whatever the number is. So it just feels like, oh my gosh, I'm rich. Like I've made it. I've totally made it. And I think if you don't pay attention to what's coming in, and you don't actually have a plan or a path for where those dollars should go, like, oh yeah, I have this student loan debt. I should probably have an extra percentage that's going towards that every month. Oh yeah, I have a mortgage to pay and a car from 1973 that needs to be replaced pretty soon. I should probably be saving. So, right. So this is, you're graduating college. I'm like, we're driving the beaters. So it's like, I should probably be saving to replace that thing in the next, 3 years, something like that. So I think there's just some like really, a really simple thing is like, just track, know where every dollar is going. Like, know what's coming in from your paycheck, and then monitor what's actually gone out on a month-to-month basis, and try to categorize things. Like, how much are you spending on Buffalo Wild Wings every month? And how much are you spending on your debt repayments? And maybe you actually
Why is it more at B-dubs?
Exactly. Why is it more at Buffalo Wild Wings than it is on what you're putting towards your student loans? So think like some very just fundamental, like get the basics. And I think that's actually, the first thing I would mention of what's something that I wish, that I think you should know or people miss is like, you need to just master some of the fundamentals, and things don't necessarily have to be complicated with your finances. You just need to know, like, A, I should save, B, I should pay off my debt, and C, I should just track every dollar that comes in. And if there's extra, what do I do with it? Do I go and spend it right away, or do I put it towards my savings account? So is that helpful?
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And I think, like you said, and you set it up, there's a ton of different conversations that can be had about money. We can get really specific, and everybody that's listening today, when we're just even bringing this up, there's something else in their mind. Somebody's thinking about, the overwhelming debt in their life. Somebody else is thinking about, the fact that they have no idea what they're doing with investing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so you can obviously go and, like you said, we can have further conversations about this, but we decided that this isn't going to be that conversation. Whether it's Dave Ramsey or there's other things that's what they do day in, day out. And so there's some great resources, but we wanted Dan to come on to talk about some of the unique things that you've learned. And so I know when we were talking, you kind of said, like, I think I want to share some things I wish I would have known in my 20s. And so I think that's where we're gonna start today. So
totally.
What is the first thing you wish you would have known in your 20s?
Yeah. I think the first thing I wish I would have known was the power of committing to people. So, and don't be afraid to commit. Don't be afraid to commit to things. So I've been out of college since, well, I guess I said it, 2017. I've been working, in this same industry for 8 years, coming up on 9 years now. And I think something I've learned over that period of time is just when you commit to people, or you commit to a vision, or you commit to a mission or something that you're trying to pursue, you can go so much further if you commit for 3 years, for 5 years, for 8 years, right? For I'm not quite at the 10-year mark, but it is amazing the fruit and the rewards that comes out of commitment. And something, something I think about, I'm going to just, again, I can speak to I'm going to attest to this, I guess, in my own life. I don't think I knew this at the time, but I see it looking back. Like when I walked into the UBS office and asked for Tom and was like, hey, is Tom here? Can I give him a resume? Yeah, sure, we'll grab him. I didn't realize what I was setting in motion at that time, that there would be a job offer on the table, that 3 years later we would leave the company we were with, we'd start our own, start our own firm, and 4 years after that I would buy into the firm and become a partner of it too, so a part owner. And I think it's like that progression didn't happen in 8 months. That progression happened over 8 years.
Right.
And so I think there's something to be said for committing to things and committing to people long term that just can reap really amazing and beautiful rewards. And I don't just mean that financially. I think like what's interesting about maybe my job, my occupation is like just being frank. It's like I basically just talk about money, and I talk to people about money, and I talk to some very wealthy, very successful people about money every single day, every single week. And that's just the world I live in is that's I guess what I think about. But there's so much that I've learned that has nothing to do with money, or that sounds like it doesn't have to do with money, because you talk about savings and you talk about debt management and you're like, oh, well, this is how you make progress in your finances and how you handle it with wisdom and how you handle it with holiness. It's like, it is. And also commit to people and have vision, and like that is almost equally as important. And you'll find that it doesn't just reward you maybe in the sense that, your career might go where you'd like it to go, or you have a vision for where you want things to go. But you'll also just find like the impact that you're having on people, the impact that, I feel I'm having on clients has just gotten deeper and deeper and deeper as I've committed to, God, you've placed me in this industry. So I'm going to seek out knowledge. I'm going to get designations. I'm going to pursue excellence here and try to deepen my commitment to my clients and my commitment to my business partners. And it's just very rewarding. Like, it's just internally, it's very rewarding.
That's cool. I mean, I think even just to start there, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't feel like this is financial advice through and through. But I think like there's such the mindset that comes with it, and like the heart posture, the things that happen in us that obviously it impacts everything else. You know,
Yeah.
I love that. Just the fact that what was a resume drop off, you know, is now where you're at now. And obviously the impact that's made on your life, your family, and your long-term future, not just your next year or so.
Totally.
Yeah, that's cool.
Some of the best advice I got, this was like probably maybe week 2 or something, like in the office, just period. Like my first job, I'm like 2 weeks in, and there's a guy who I used to work with by the name of Tom Moore, and he was in his mid-50s at the time. And I remember I walked into his office, just kind of building the camaraderie with employees and colleagues and that type of thing. And I walked into his office, and he looks at me, he goes, "Hey," he's like, here's some advice for you. And he's like, every 3 years, just stop what you're doing and look around and just figure out where you're standing. Like, figure out, like, where am I? What direction am I facing? And if I keep going this way, is this going to get me where I want to go? And where, you know, like where the Lord wants me to go? Is this going to actually push me in that direction? Or do I need to make a course correction here? And, you know, I don't think he knew it at the time. Like, it kind of felt like the Lord was speaking to me through him, because that has resonated and stuck with me for, you know, the entirety of my career now. Of just my wife and I talk about this of like, hey, we made a decision. We're going to commit to this for 2 years, 3 years. And every 2 to 3 years, without fail, we've had some major life decision that's come up where we've had to just stop, look around, and make a decision, basically take stock of where we're standing. Like, is this the direction we want to keep going? Do we need to make a pivot right here? So I know that, again, that has more connotations than just the financial side, but that's been a really helpful barometer of just like taking time to pause, you know, commit in increments, but then take time to pause, reflect. Are you going the direction you want to?
That's so good. That's so good. When you were talking, I don't want to derail the conversation, so we'll try and keep it tailored to the conversation. But, you know, the idea of committing, the idea of, you know, being sure about a decision, I feel like that's a lot of young adults have a lot of fear around that, have a lot of like hesitation of, but this isn't the job that I thought I would be doing out of college. You know, I don't want to say that I'm here for the next 3 years, like, because this isn't my end goal. Yeah. So how would you advise someone to maintain that perspective, even if it's not exactly what they envisioned it to be, but like it could open doors in the future, you know?
Building something good just takes time.
Yeah.
Whether that's a business, whether that's your career, whether that's a relationship, like a friendship. You know, sometimes I think about marriage and I'm like, wow, like God designed marriage to be something that was like, when you get married to someone, it's not like, hey, this is a 5-year deal, and after 5 years, you've learned it all and you're done. It's like building something great takes time. And that's why when you see like a couple that's in their 90s that's been married for 70 years, you're like, 70 years? And they're like, oh yeah, and we're still learning more about each other. Holy cow. Like, how is that possible? Like, building something really, really good just takes time. So from a career perspective, I would say like, you actually just mentally, you need to tell yourself that. Like, tell yourself that like, I know this might not be where I want to be in the end, in the long run, but building something good takes time. And I think it's worth saying on this podcast, if I may, that like, I really do feel it's okay to have career ambitions. It's okay to want to like do something through the work of your hands, whether that's in engineering, whether that's in nursing, whether that's in, education. It's like wanting to have a career where you are able to use your hands and just create an immense amount of value for people is not a bad, it's not a bad aim, not a bad thing. All this stuff always has to be balanced against like, all right, Lord, like where's my priorities at? Like, what's taking the highest place? Is my career taking the highest place, or is the Lord taking the highest place? Right. But I do think it's important to say that like it's okay to have those thoughts, and then it's okay to have a career ambition, and then to commit to that.
That's cool. And I even on that note too, I think actually backtrack a little bit. The idea of if we're always looking for a back door, we're going to find one, like when you're in that place, and what you were saying, Megan, it's just when we're half in, half out, like it's very hard to focus on our work. Then it's also very hard for our heart to change in it too, when it's like, well, I'm not even giving myself a chance at it. And I think, again, I think that the idea of the timed commitments or the timed, review is just really helpful and healthy, unless you really feel like God's stirring something and it's time, but just to like, I'm going to give this X amount of time. Like I know when I started with AO1, like there was a time that we were going to kind of review things and look back, and same with the work that I'm doing with Valley Christian right now. It was like, here, let's actually, in my contract is different time periods that we're going to stop and just kind of evaluate how is this partnership going, and I think that it just gives me just a lot of peace to just know, like from now until that point, it's just like commitment and let's just go for it,
Yep.
And so that's so good.
Yeah.
But what other things do you wish you would have known in your 20s, Dan?
I think one thing I'm going to add on to that too, just before we move on, is like, I think that when you have commitments, when you commit to something, and this is like definitely specifically for the 22-year-olds or the 23-year-olds who are like, you're just out of college, you're just getting a job. It's like when you commit to something, you will work way harder or just like put your everything into it. If you know that like, hey, there's a timeline to this, something that I think people get stuck in, and I can see this. I can see how you get stuck in this. And there was probably yes, there are times over the last 8 years or 9 years for myself where I definitely was stuck in this of like, is this forever? Like you think to yourself, like, is this just all I'm going to do? Is this what it is? And if you think about that too much, then you just like get stuck in a rut. But if you have those increments of time of, hey, I'm going to do this for 2 years. I'm going to commit to this person or commit to this job or commit to this occupation, this field for 3 years time. It gives you something to, it gives you, I guess, an end point or like an evaluation point, like you were saying. And I think you will tend to just work really diligently during that time, which I believe is what the Lord has called people to. It's like he has called you. He blessed the work of Adam's hands. It's like he will bless the work of your hands, but you only get blessed if you do the work, right? Yeah, I'll leave it there.
That's good. That's awesome. So I know there's a few other things that you, really have learned, or that you wish you would have learned sooner. What are a couple of those other ones?
Yeah. One of them I wrote down was just like when it comes to money and it comes to Christianity, just wrestle with the theology of money. This is kind of like it's funny because what I want to say on this is like, I'm definitely not an expert on this. And what I'll tell you is these thoughts are not necessarily fresh, but I'm like, again, I've worked in this industry. My day in and day out is managing investment portfolios and talking about financial planning. So I'm surrounded by the idea of money, right? So a lot of my time is spent thinking about it. And what I can tell you after 8 or 9 years is I still don't understand entirely, like, how does God view money and how are we supposed to manage it and handle it wisely, like with wisdom? And one of the things that I think we can fall into sometimes is like, because money can be a touchy topic to talk about even in the church, it's like we can just sort of leave it on the back burner and be like, well, because I don't know all the answers and I'm not sure if it's good if I make money or if I have money or if I save a lot. Now I have $1 million in investment portfolio. Like, is that good? Like, is that godly? We sometimes just like leave those things on the sidelines. So we're just like, well, I just won't think about it then.
Right.
When we do that though, I think we actually kind of like give up on something again that like God, I think God has like obviously God's created everything. God uses money as a way to impact the world. And so we have to view it as like, money's not everything, but money is a tool. And so the prayer I would pray is like, Lord, show me, like, what is your perspective on money? Because money is not everything, but money's a tool. So how am I supposed to use it for my personal life? How am I supposed to use it to bless my family? How am I supposed to use it to bless the church? How am I supposed to use it to bless my community? How am I supposed to use it to bless my friends? What about the organizations that I love? Like, you can start going down. If you start asking God these questions, I believe he will speak to you and you will share about these things. But that is like something I almost wish I knew sooner, is like, it's just a wrestle and it's a struggle. And I can confidently say today that I will wrestle with this for the next 60 years. Like, I'll probably still be trying to figure out, like, what is your view of money, Lord? I think I grasp part of it, but this, I still don't understand this other side. Mm-hmm. Is this making any sense?
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think just having a confidence in those convictions that you do have too, you know, and you know, I think anytime there's maybe a misunderstanding or a disagreement that I have with scripture, or, you know, it's like, that's the good place to wrestle too, you know, is just to sit in that place and ask myself, like, why is that hard to believe, or why is that hard to want to, you know, abide by. But how has, in just your personal life, like, how has, you know, God kind of shaped your view of finances and stuff? Like, what in your wrestling, like, what are some of the takeaways?
Yeah. So like I said, I'll frame all this as like, I am not the expert. And I don't know all the answers, but I know a few things that I'm learned or am learning and am wrestling with. So, and I'll keep these really simple. Like, you go to scripture, the Proverbs say, like, the love of money is the root of all evil. Or some translations say the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So when I used to read that, I used to just kind of think, like, money's evil. Like, oh, the Proverbs says, like, the love of money is the root of all evil. It wasn't until later, wrestling with that scripture, that I realized, like, oh, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, which would be like greed, right? We call that greed today. It's just like, greed can lead to all different kinds of evil, and greed leads people to lie. Greed leads people to deceive. Greed leads people into these places where you don't want your heart to go, right? And, like, that's not a money issue. That's a heart issue. Like, God needs to work on that part of us. So one of those things I've wrestled with is like, all right, if money's not evil, it's the love of money that's all evil, then money must have a purpose, and God must have a way or a plan or an intention for us to use money. So that would be like one example, simple example of like, okay, God wants us to use that. I think something I've learned in wrestling with that verse too is like, actually just last night I had the privilege of being at the New Life Center's fundraiser. So they do an annual fundraiser, and it's at the Delta Hotel. And for those of you who are listening who don't know, the New Life Center is one of the homeless shelters in town. But not only that, they house residents, and then they also have programs that they'll put their, and I love this, they don't call them homeless, they call their guests. So their guests stay at the shelter, and then they have programs for their guests to participate in that basically get them out of a homeless cycle, get them a job, get them an ID, all this stuff. Beautiful, beautiful organization. Sitting in that room, I won't name names, but it's like there are some highly successful individuals in there. And the ask at the end of that event is, we need one family in here to write a $50,000 check. We need 2 families to write $25,000 checks. We need 4 families to write, $10,000 checks. You start to think about these things. I'm like, my goodness, like, Lord, you use financial resources to impact your kingdom. And the mission of the New Life Center is advanced when dollars get into their hands and they can push that forward. And the New Life Center is a beautiful, Christian-led organization. Yeah. They have held fast to that literally for over 100 years. That's how long they've been here. So that would be that's I think is just a good example of like, all right, God does use money to advance his kingdom. We just need to find the ways he does it. And always balance that tension of like, am I greedy? Am I becoming greedy? Am I loving money too much? Or is God still in the highest place?
That's so good. I think what you just said about the event you were at last night just made me think money is another one of those areas that we tend to be in an echo chamber, like we tend to gravitate towards people that are in a similar boat as us. And I think, just having those more diverse conversations, so if that's somebody that views money a little bit different, or, I just think there's people that come to that event last night, and maybe when that ask comes, there's anger, that there's like, oh, I knew this was going to,
Yep.
But then there's others that, I just think that being exposed to that generosity just makes you go like, man, am I living to give? Am I living for a purpose that's greater than myself? Or have I been caught into that, and obviously there's the other side of that coin too, of, whether that's just like, I'll never have anything, and I'm never going to amount to anything, and I'm just going to just get by. Like, that's all I know. It would be beneficial to talk to somebody that has made efforts to put their family in a different position, and like it would be beneficial to have that conversation and have almost like a new vision painted. Cause I'm sure there was somebody last night that went home and they couldn't write a check for $50,000, but they said, I want to be able to write a check for $50,000 someday. And that's going to drive their work. It's going to drive their vision for their organization or whatever they do to make money. And I think that we need to be exposed to those opportunities to have our vision changed and course corrected.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I totally believe that. And I think like, there's an event here. Of course, I attended on Saturday as well. Jonathan, is it Brozozog? I gotta say
Brozozog.
Brozozog.
Yeah.
It's a Brozozog.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of Zos.
Yeah. So, but even Pastor Jonathan, what he was saying too, of like how he said that he tells his staff, like, if you didn't spend an hour with the Lord today, don't come into work. He's like, I want you to like get time with the Lord and then come into work. That was really, when he said that was like that hit me right in the core. Cause I was like, I might not work at a church. I might not go into, the house of the Lord every single day, 5 days a week, but I go into work and I go and I have to serve people and I serve clients and I have colleagues and I lead a team, and like, so all these elements of like, if I'm not getting an hour with the Lord, like, what am I missing? What am I losing? Like, I'm probably actually losing out on the things that God has for me too. And viewing my job and viewing my work and viewing money how he would like me to as well. So I think like that, just to throw that out there of like, for anybody who's listening to this too, it's like, you cannot, you can have all these ambitions and it's just put the Lord at the highest place. Like, get that time with him, spend that hour with him in the morning, and like, he will give you the vision. If you were the person at the New Life Center that's like, whoa, what if I could write that check someday? I wish I could do that. Like, spend time with God. God will give you vision and he will direct you in this too.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah. You kind of hit on a lot of different, I think, experiences that we have, like the people that avoid the topic of money because it's like overwhelming. And if I just don't think about it, then I'll just be fine,
Yeah.
Or, you have the people that are coming out of college that are like, let me make the most amount of money. Like, that's how you view success. But you kind of talked about how money is actually a tool, it funds things that the Lord wants to do through the kingdom. And so how did you, maybe it was like wrestling with those scriptures, like the love of money is the root of all evil. Maybe it's wrestling with those, but how did you start to view that money is a tool, that it's not something that we base our success on, that it's not something to be avoided, but it is something to be, known and utilized?
Yeah. Yeah. Our mission, like our mission statement at Fjell, is create freedom. It's just those two words, create freedom. That's what we want to do. And part of that mission statement, like, was birthed out of lots of conversation, first of all, right? It's like these things just usually don't happen on a whim. But part of that was like, the passage that talks about, this is how it birthed it in my heart, at least, was the passage in the scripture that talks about like Jesus came out to seek and save the lost. Like, he was here to like set prisoners free. Like, he wanted to set captives free and bring freedom to those who are in bondage. I think it's in Isaiah that like Isaiah has a prophecy about like, right, it's I wish I had it in front of me, but basically setting the captives free, releasing those from bondage, right? So like, freedom is what Jesus wants for our lives and for our spirits. And so that I think with the money aspect of it, like that's kind of where part of our mission statement came from, was like, we want to create freedom in people's lives in whatever way possible. And we just happen to be at the seat of the table where it's like finance is the conversation. And so I think, ask your question one more time.
Yeah.
I want to just make sure
Yeah. So how did you go about learning that money is a tool? It's not something to be avoided or something to deem your success on, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. So yeah. This is where I was going to go with that. So like, in order to create freedom, I can't just, let's say, like even in our work, I can't just throw money at problems. Like money doesn't really fix it, but like I have to be focused. I want to focus on creating value for people, like generating value for people. And this goes back to something that, I wrote as like one of the things I wish I knew in my 20s was like, I wish I earlier in my career would have known that like it's more important to create value for people than it is to like pursue money. Like let your ambition to impact people's lives be greater than your ambition to get a nice paycheck. Because one can follow the other, which is like, if you seek money, you will probably walk off the straight and narrow path. Like you will find yourself in an area where it's like greed has sort of started to take root. You start going down that path. You just don't want to go down that path, right? If you pursue like serving, if you pursue creating value for people, it's like Jesus again came. He's like, I came to serve, not to be served. Like That's what Jesus came to do. So I think that actually, to answer your question directly, is kind of where that came from, of like, I want to serve people more than be served. I want to pursue service more than I want to pursue money and a paycheck. And I'm just going to trust the Lord that the Lord will provide. And so like financially, I'll be able to pay my mortgage. I'll be able to buy diapers for Josie. Like those things will be taken care of. And it's in the Lord's hand what he wants to do beyond that. It's like if he wants to, shower financial blessings on a certain person, I trust him to make that decision. But I would say like choose service first, choose to serve people. And that will help keep your mind off of just the love of money and the pursuit of money itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I think that's a huge part of that heart posture, in this whole conversation, which again, it's funny. I feel like most of the conversations that I do end up having about money, it usually ends up going to the heart posture anyways, because we can tell you like save, and we can tell you give, 10%. We can tell you to do these things, but I think it's where your heart is there, or where your treasure is there, your heart will be also. But this idea that those two things are very tightly knit. And so if you have a heart to serve people, if you have a heart to give to others, whether that's via your time and your energy and your just value that you can add, you're going to do that when you have the opportunity to give financially too, like that's because that's going to be your heart already. Like your heart is going to be to give. Yeah. It's really hard to overcome a heart,
Totally.
like you can't. And so, and I just think, I have friends in the Chi Alpha world, and, and like what's been really fun, and that's college ministry, and they're all missionary based and donor driven. And, one of the things is just like, man, I was a Chi Alpha pastor for 6 years and got to train up and raise up a bunch of missionaries that are doing it. Like, I wish I could be their number one financial donor, but I can't, right now in this season of life. And so what's been really fun though, is just to turn that and just be like, well, how can I give, it might not be a check right now, but I can give, time, I can give prayer, I can give encouragement. And, and I think that as those opportunities come, it's very easy to say yes to those opportunities because your heart's already in it and your heart's already there. So yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. I know we've got to wrap in a minute or a few minutes here, but is there maybe one thing that stands out that you didn't get to share yet that you want to make sure you communicate today?
I think honestly, that idea of like, just really focus on serving people, that is the thing that I would probably want to leave with everybody, is like focus more on giving value to people than on making money. especially if you're like in your 20s, I think like if you can figure that out when you're 25 versus learning that when you're 40, and you realize like you look back at age 40 and you're like, what was I doing the last 15 years? Like I was working 70 hours a week. I wasn't really thinking about my friends, or I wasn't really thinking about like the output. I was just thinking about like trying to get a paycheck. I think like you're going to just find you're in such a more satisfied place. It is so satisfying to serve people too. It's just so rewarding. Think about like the richest conversation that you've had with someone. And I don't use that term like as a pun either. It's just like, think about the richest conversation you had with someone where you could genuinely see that like you just poured into that person's life in a way that you maybe don't even realize. That's just like is so rewarding in your heart when you have that. So if you do that, I think you're golden.
That's good. Well, I think too, freedom really isn't a number, because I think there's a lot of talk about financial freedom, and there's freedom numbers, and that means like a certain point that you get where, you're mortgage free and all these things. Like freedom is not necessarily a target down there. You can live in freedom with lack, with less. Yeah. And I think that, you kind of communicated to that part of this too. So appreciate that. Is there one rhythm, because I know one of the things we try to do on the podcast is kind of say, okay, like what's something that we can do in our lives today? Like what's a weekly or biweekly or monthly kind of rhythm habit that we can kind of establish? Do you have one that you would encourage, maybe based on this conversation or just in general?
Yeah, I'm just going to go based on this conversation. There's probably several I could say, but I'm just going to say this one, which is like, just give often. Like, be really generous. No matter how much you make. Like, I read this morning, it's really funny actually. So I read a proverb and I read Luke today. And the proverb, I think it was the very first verse in the proverb that I read today was about how, paraphrase, the Dan Schuster version. It was like, basically those who pursue wealth, like wealth will grow wings and fly away. Like your money will grow wings and fly away. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's a good warning to like take heed to. Like I probably should be careful of what how I view this. And then the passage I read in Luke was the woman with the penny who drops it in the, in the offering bucket at the synagogue. And the leaders had paraded through first, and they put all their, their tithes and their extra and their big coins into the bucket.
Not to be confused with bitcoins.
Not to be confused with bitcoins. Yeah, big coins, right? The big coins. And then Jesus looks at his disciples. He's like, that woman gave more than all these other folks. And it's like, she gave 1 penny. Like, that's all she put in there. But that's why I would say, like, just be generous, because God is looking more for you to be generous and to give than he is to see you write a $50,000 check, right? It's like he just wants to see you give. So that's what I got for you today. If you asked me this question next week and the podcast was different, I'd probably give a different answer.
No, I love the direction this went. And I think too, something we talked about before this was just like, I think there's ways that we want to incorporate these conversations in the future, and so if you're open to it, let's have you back, because I know you have lots more to share. The one question, and this whole episode is kind of the one question, but I did want to create the space for it. It's your first time on the podcast. It's your first time living too. If you were to face off with 20-year-old Dan, so I know we've just been talking about things you wish 20-year-old you would have known. But is there anything that maybe just jumps to you right now, the 20-year-old Dan, if you were to one-on-one with him?
Be okay with not knowing where you're going to end up.
That's good.
That's it. Just say, like I said, the commitment piece again, that goes back to the commitment. Say yes. If you feel the yes in your heart, if you're like, Lord, I think this is the direction you're taking me, even if it's, like I said, career-wise, that's what it was. It was like, all right, what job do I take? All right, I think this is it. Just say yes to it, commit to it, and be okay having no idea where that's actually going to take you. The Lord will open doors.
Man, I mean, that's kind of the heartbeat of the podcast,
Let's
which
go.
is so good. Just going somewhere. Like we don't always know the next steps or the, you know, the 10th step, but we have to take the next one. And so thanks for jumping in today and joining us. This was really fun, and just hear your heart. You know, I think again, when we come back to it all, it kind of comes back to our hearts, and just to see your heart in this matter. You know, like we asked you, you know, hey, we want to have a conversation in relation to finance. Like we didn't want to give too many parameters, and the thing that really came out to you is to serve others, and the thing that came out to is to give often. The thing that came out of you, you know, it just communicates your heart and your the way that you see this and the way that you want to help people in this is to help them first and foremost. Like God's got good things for you, and lean into him, you know. And so just appreciate you, Dan. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. It's a blast.
Yeah. So fun. As the 24-year-old in the room, I found this very helpful.
As the 20-year-old that can make some of these things now. Yeah. Put you on the spot. What's one big takeaway for you today, Megan?
I mean, it's what you camped on a ton, but just the idea that, actually the proverb that you talked about of, I feel like I've had the same thought that, oh, money must be evil, but it's the love of money. So that was interesting just to kind of dig into a little bit. But then I think also just the idea that, like, be committed to something and be committed to not needing to know where it's going to lead you. And I think for me personally, that's very hard, but I also think that's hard just in general, to have that mindset. But it is true, like, just thinking about my own story, like the yeses that I said yes to, I could have never imagined where I'm seated now. And like, it does all work out, you know, when it's like just obedience and a yes. You just never know. So yeah, I appreciate you. This was fun. I would like to have him back. So
It looks at me.
I have many more questions.
No, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, again, thanks, Dan, and everybody, thanks for listening. We're all going somewhere.
We might as well go there together.
Awesome.